Hey everyone, Rock is George here from the Rock is George podcast and the loudest.com on the planet, KNAC.com. Today I'm here with my first best of video, of course, the best of 2025. Now, each and every year I submit a list of my favorite albums of the year to KNAC.com, but I don't really get to expand upon it. I don't get to tell you why it ended up where it ended up, but this year I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to take that list and, just like I said, expand upon it. Now, of course, all best of lists are bullshit, let's face it. Even I know, working in the field. I mean, it's very subjective, and of course, I can't listen to every single release, and there's certainly some releases that came out last year that I only got to in January, and I was like, oh, damn, that probably should have made my list. I'll at least tell you my favorites for 2025. And yes, my leanings are towards classic rock. I seem to be the classic rock guy at KNAC.com, and those are kind of the people that I interview for KNAC and for the Rock is George podcast. First off, I'm going to start with the album I ranked number one for 2024, and that's Storis. The name of the album is Crossfire. Of course, the frontman of Storis is Mark Storis. He is the singer for Crocus. You've heard of Crocus, Screaming in the Night. That, of course, also solidifies me as sort of the classic rock guy. Now, when I do these top 10 lists, I add 5 honorable mentions. So I'm going to give you the honorable mentions for 2025. First, in no particular order. First up is German power metal act Primal Fear. This is their album Domination. Now, Primal Fear does not go too far off the mark when it comes to making albums. A lot of people would say that they're similar, much like Motorhead, much like AC/DC, much like Halloween, but the formula works for them. A lot of great anthems on this album. Very, very anthemic. I had the chance to interview frontman Ralph Scheepers about this album, and I wanted to show you what the vinyl looks like. This is one of the variants. That's all I collect if you follow my YouTube page. Ralph Scheepers, great guy, tells us where the band's going, how the new members came to be. He throws a little shade at some old members. He throws shade at Michael Erie and Alex Bayrod. I mean, those guys got their own projects going on. Bayrod's got Voodoo Circle, and Michael Erie has The Unity, which sounds a lot like Primal Fear, if you ask me. So, moving on in the honorable mentions, I don't actually have the physical album to show you. Sold out rather quick, at least the vinyl variant did, and that's what I collect. And that is Lord of the Lost frontman Chris Harms. He released his first solo album called 1980. Kind of harkens back to a Depeche Mode kind of sound. Sort of a little bit industrial, a little bit poppier than I would say Lord of the Lost. A lot of great compositions. Takes me back to the 80s. He's captured the sound perfectly. I'm not a huge fan of Lord of the Lost, but if Chris wants to continue making solo albums like this, they're just great. Also in the honorable mention pile for 2025, 2 of my favorite artists growing up throughout the years. David Ellefson, former bassist for Megadeth, current bassist for Metal Church, and Jeff Scott Soto, vocalist extraordinaire, got his start with Yngwie Malmsteen back in the day. He's also a member of Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Sons of Apollo. He's always doing stuff with Jason Bieler, of course, Jason Bieler from Saigon Kick. This album, Unbreakable, is the follow-up to their debut album, whose name escapes me right now. Great album, very heavy, as you expect from Ellefson. Not so much from Soto. I mean, Soto does a little bit of heavy stuff. I will say great compositions here. Kind of got overlooked this year, I think. I don't think a lot of people knew this came out. Could that be the fault of the record label? I don't know. But, I mean, Jeff Scott sort of does appear on a lot of stuff, and Dave Ellefson does a lot of things, too. He's got Kings of Thrash and, like I said, Metal Church. This vinyl definitely wins Variant of the Year for me as far as this list. It is fantastic looking vinyl. I don't know how they did it. So this side is probably the cooler of the two sides. Although, that came out pretty well, too. We'll get you a good light here. There we go. Pretty cool, right? And the album's good, too. So, you can't beat that. The fourth album that made my honorable mentions, another classic rock band, probably didn't get their due here in the United States. I don't have a copy of the vinyl because it's expensive. It's expensive to get vinyl overseas today. Tariffs, postage, just general whatever gets in the way. Some labels somehow have figured out how to get their product to America and ship it from there, but some labels don't. So that album is by Heavy Pettin, who's making a comeback. They haven't made an album in over, I think it's 20 years. The name of the album is Rock Generation. Great classic hard rock sound, little AC/DC-ish meets classic rock radio of the 80s. Lots of great anthems, lots of great straight up rock songs. Rounding out my list of honorable mentions, the album by Deep Purple keyboardist Don Airey. Another vinyl I haven't got my hands on yet. The name of the album is Push to the Edge. This album really surprised me. I did not know who the vocalist was on it when I heard it the first couple of times. And it turns out it's Carl Sentence. Carl Sentence, currently the former vocalist of Nazareth. Their last album I absolutely love with Carl on vocals. And it makes sense why I like Don Airey's latest album with Carl on vocals. Carl has a great voice. He's moved on to some sort of all-star project at this time from Nazareth, but I only see good things for him, and obviously Don Airey is a legend and usually doesn't make crap. I mean, there's a couple of Deep Purple albums I don't care for, but that's not his fault, right? So getting into the top 10, always tough ranking albums when there's so many good albums. So coming in at number 10 on my list is the band One More Satellite. Kind of kitschy artwork there. This is the project by Stone Temple Pilots guitarist Dean DeLeo and British vocalist Peter Shoulder. Fantastic debut album. Very chill, very mellow, good rock tunes. Not unlike Stone Temple Pilots, but certainly not them. It's what you'd expect from Dean DeLeo. I didn't know much about Pete Shoulder, but guy sounds great. The album's great. I show you the vinyl, standard black vinyl. I'll forgive him for that because the album is so good. And speaking of Dean DeLeo, I had the opportunity to interview Dean for KNAC.com. So you could check that out on my YouTube page or at KNAC.com. Come to find out, me and Dean vacation in the same area in Vermont. That was kind of cool. Dean even sent me a text message when I headed up to Vermont this year saying, hope you're enjoying the town. That was nice of him. They also sent me that vinyl complimentary, and I appreciate that because I don't get a lot of that anymore. Coming in at number 9 is female solo artist Dorothy Martin, to be specific. Her album, The Way, fantastic. Hard rock, a little bit of southern rock in there. Dorothy has kind of a great personal story. She was kind of living the rock and roll lifestyle. Saw one of her friends overdose. And that was it for her. And She turned her life over to Christ. And the rest is history, as they say. And don't get me wrong, definitely some positive spiritual messages in Dorothy's music, but it's not what I would consider worship music. I'd say the message is delivered much like Kansas delivered their message of faith in Christianity. Christian themes, not preachy. So this is actually a pretty cool vinyl too, so I wanted to show you that. It's kind of a Bengal tiger look. I had the opportunity to interview Dorothy for KNAC about this album. She's a great woman. Some great stories. You should check that out on my YouTube channel or at knac.com. Coming in at number 8, progressive rock act, Envy of None. They are out of Canada. I should have looked up how to pronounce it. Stygian Waves, I believe, is what I was told it was called. Envy of None, very different progressive rock act. They're out of Canada, sort of a super group. Andy Curran of Coney Hatch fame. And of course, guitarist Alex Lifeson from Rush. The group is led by Mariah Wynn, who I had the opportunity to interview for KNAC. You can find that on this YouTube channel. Some great songs on here. It's great artwork. Very kitschy. A couple of cool music videos online for Envy of None. I'll show you the vinyl. It's just a standard blue vinyl. Pretty cool. Mariah, she's great. She's got some solo music too. It's unlike Envy of None, and it's worth checking out. Now, of course, Alex has reactivated Rush with a new drummer, and they're hitting the road. The future of Envy of None, kind of up in the air. They've never performed live, and it doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon, which is a shame. But we'll see. Anything can happen. What's with those Canadian bands all getting back together? Rush, Triumph. Who's next? Coming in at number 7 for my favorite albums, or the best albums of 2025. This one really surprised me. Billy Idol, Dream Into It. Hadn't heard it at all throughout the whole year. Saw Billy Idol towards the tail end of the summer live. He performed 3 or 4 songs from this. I'm like, hey, those are pretty good songs. And I hadn't listened to a full Billy Idol album in a long time. Probably Devil's Playground. And when was that? 15 years ago? Great album, though. There heard some stuff along the way. He's mostly been releasing EPs. I mean, this is really an extended EP. It's 9 songs, I guess. We could call it a full album. Some great stuff on here. 77, good tune. I like People I Love. He played that live. Still Dancing. Some great tunes on here. And Billy Idol live, unbelievable. It was the first time I saw him live. Blew me away. Couldn't believe how good he was. They got the Purple Indie vinyl. They have others. They had a record store day single version, if that's your thing. If you're paying $15 for a single, shame on you. This brings us to number 6. Now, those classic rock guys, you're probably not going to expect this next pick from me, but, you know, I'm an old school thrash guy. I am. That's why I said David Ellefson was kind of somebody I grew up with, because Megadeth is my favorite thrash metal band. Another great thrash metal band that I discovered later in life, Vicious Rumors. Probably didn't get the credit that they deserved throughout the years, but very influential on the sound. This is their latest album, The Devil's Asylum. Like I said, came in at number 6. Fantastic album. top to bottom, very anthemic, very energetic music. No frills on the vinyl. It's just the black vinyl. I can forgive them for that. I had the chance to interview guitarist and founder Jeff Thorpe for KNAC this year. You can find that interview on this YouTube page. I also had the opportunity to interview former Vicious Rumors guitarist David K. Starr. He appeared on the early, most influential, most sought after Vicious Rumors albums. David talks about his struggles with Parkinson's disease. Talks about his business making guitar wiring harnesses. It talks about his other projects and sort of the impact that Vicious Rumors had on his career. Now, Jeff Thorpe, when I talked to him, he had recently taken a stumble in Germany, I believe, and dislocated his shoulder, broke his shoulder. Check out that interview for more. They're gearing up for an extensive North American tour, so I'm guessing rehab went great on the shoulder. We're halfway through the list, and coming in at number 5 is a legend, or should I say, legends. Number 5, greatest albums of 2025, The Revenge of Alice Cooper. Kind of a different album for Alice. It's not a solo album. It's the Alice Cooper Band, reunited. And through the magic of technology, Glenn Buxton makes an appearance. What makes this album great is that it could have been released after Billion Dollar Babies. That was the last album the Alice Cooper Band played together. And then Alice went solo and released Welcome to My Nightmare. This album could be right in the middle. It has that classic Alice Cooper sound, has the classic Alice Cooper wit, certainly the ironic song titles and themes. I would love to see how this plays out live, but I don't think these guys are going to reunite for that. So I got the yellow indie vinyl. It's a double vinyl collection. Alice has been churning out a lot of music lately. I'd like to say all of it's great. Most of it's great. But certainly The Revenge of Alice Cooper, that's worth your money. Especially if you love the classic Alice Cooper Band. Not that his solo stuff wasn't close to that, but you'll hear what I mean when you listen to this album. Number 4 was a huge surprise to me because I had never heard of the gentleman. It's a solo album by Peter Golby called Don't Think This Is Over. So Peter Golby was the lead singer for Uriah Heep in the early 80s. He's also a member of Trapeze, the UK rock act that Glenn Hughes was a part of. Don't know a lot about Trapeze, didn't listen to a lot of Trapeze, didn't listen to a lot of Uriah Heep either. This album was sent to me. I decided to check it out. It's actually a lost solo album. When Peter Golby left Uriah Heep, he hit the recording studio, recorded a bunch of stuff, and you'll have to check out his interview on the Rock is George podcast to find out why the album was never released. It's a great story. Kind of typical of those 80s lost albums, but the music was found in modern times. Lots of it, actually. This is the 3rd album that he's released with lost solo material. Great guy, Peter Golby. Had a chance to talk to him for an hour. Reveals a lot of stuff. It's definitely worth checking out. Find out how he got the gig with Uriah Heep, why he left Trapeze, why he left Uriah Heep, why he didn't get a gig after Uriah Heep, and why his solo career was pulled by the label. Oh, and how he was hired as the singer of Rainbow after Ronnie James Dio left and was fired after a month. That's the greatest story. So the album is pure 80s AOR, rock radio, stuff that I eat up, high production, you know, John Parr, Journey, Toto stuff. It's right in the pocket of the best of the 80s, and it was released in 2025, and it's fantastic. There is no vinyl version. I have no CD players, so I stream it. We're up to the top 3. This one, not so much classic rock. Well, I guess it depends how old you are. It's the latest album by The Darkness called Dreams on Toast. I didn't like the last Darkness album. The last Darkness album I liked before this was Easter is Canceled. Kind of went off a little bit with the next album. I think they might have released 2 albums since Easter is Canceled. I don't know. But this album, everything you come to expect from the band. Ironic and quirky lyrics, high falsettos, energetic guitars, everything you've come to know and love from rock and roll. Darkness, I'm not sure they really caught on here in the U.S. This is the white vinyl. I mean, they tour here, so they must do all right, but I'd love to interview Justin at some point. He's got his own podcast, though. Is he going to come on mine? Who knows? Coming in at number 2, legendary German power metal, much like Primal Fear. This is Halloween, Giants and Monsters. Everything you've come to know and love from Halloween. Actually, they've been on a tear ever since they reunited with both their singers and guitarist Kai Hansen. Now that everybody's, kumbaya again, they've released 2 great albums as the Pumpkins United lineup. Now, the last album, simply titled Halloween, I liked it for the most part, but Giants and Monsters takes it to that next level. Can only imagine what comes next. I can't remember what this vinyl looks like. All these albums sound great on vinyl if you have a player and you can afford it, because some of these do get up there in price. Definitely worth getting a vinyl player. It's not quite the same. If you grew up on streaming, you're missing a lot on vinyl. But I digress. CD is probably the best quality of all, but vinyl just has that warmer sound. I had the chance to interview vocalist Andy Dearest for KNAC. You can find that right here on this YouTube channel. I've also interviewed Michael Kiske for the last album. You can find that on my YouTube page as well. Great German power metal. Nobody does it better than Halloween. So here we are at the number 1 spot. Kind of a surprise to me, too. But again, I told you with Peter Golby that 80s overproduced sound, AOR, rock radio stuff, that's the stuff that I love. Absolutely, 1987 was the best for rock music. That sound right there. Everybody sort of had it with their own little twist to it, but it's the high production values, which I just called overproduced, but that's really what it is. So this one is the solo album by Sword frontman Rick Hughes, called Redemption. No frills on the album cover. Some great guest spots here on the album with Rick. Rick has a fantastic voice. Sword is a heavy metal act. Probably, they certainly did not get huge promotion here in the States in the 80s. When they began, their last album a few years back was pretty solid. Rick's still got a great voice. I mean, the key here for Rick is he got to work with some of his rock heroes here. I had the chance to interview Rick, too, for KNAC.com. You can check that out here. But he's most proud of his cover of The Who, The Real Me, because he he did the song with Tommy Aldridge, Brad Gillis, and Rudy Sarzo, members of one of Ozzy's classic backing bands. Obviously, Rick Hughes a fan. He also has fellow Canadian Lee Aaron on here, Jacob DeRaps, his sister, Lulu Hughes. I guess she had a pretty prominent career in Canada herself. Rick talks about her in our interview and kind of her struggles with cancer. Another thing that Rick talks about is, growing up without a father. He lost his father at a young age, and he felt he was pretty responsible for his mother and his family and working and providing for them and later providing for his family. Great guy, Rick Hughes. Great story. Definitely recommend checking it out. I think this only comes in a yellow vinyl. So why did I rank it number one? It's just the anthems, the positivity of redemption. It's kind of an album we need in times that very negative. I mean, the starting song, Dead End Road, sounds like a Lost Bon Jovi song. It's fantastic. It takes me back to when I was a kid, and the number one thing in my life was music. The cover of Real Me is great. Initially, I was turned off a little bit by, the songs in French, like being in the middle or at the beginning. But the more that I listened to the album, the more I enjoyed it. They seem to belong there. And Rick has made solo albums in the past that were all in his native language of French. Rick is Canadian, so it's French-Canadian. I don't know if there's a dialect difference there, but Rick Hughes' Redemption went to the top of the pack for me as the number one album of 2025. Check it out. I think you're going to be impressed. Classic rock fans, guitar music lovers of any kind, you are going to like Rick Hughes' Redemption. Well worthy of the number one spot in my favorite albums of 2025, or as we all write, best albums of 2025. So be sure to check out these albums. Be sure to check out the interviews I've done with these artists and more. You can catch them all on this YouTube page /@RockIsGeorge. You can check out a bunch of stuff that I do for KNAC.com. And thank you for another great year. The Rock is George podcast has expanded beyond just the interviews. We're doing reviews at Rock is George now. We're hoping to cover some live shows at Rock is George. I've opened up my vaults from the last 20 years of classic interviews and reviews. Photos are going to be coming soon as I dig up what I've got in the vaults. This is going to be the 5th year for the Rock is George podcast. I hope to take it to bigger places. I hope to take it to different places. And I hope to expand upon the Rock is George brand, but I couldn't have done any of it without all of you. So thank you for tuning in to the interviews, to the podcast, to my reviews, to my live show coverage, to my vinyl unboxings, and this best of 2025 list. You've been great. I've been George Dionne, which is how I always sign off. And I stole it from Dave Mustaine. I'm not going to lie. Discover your next favorite artist on the Rock is George podcast.